The shift that I've been seeing over the last year is more and more I've been seeing artists and bands actually start to tailor their offers, especially their e-commerce offers, towards things that don't suck. And it's really great.
You are now listening to the Creative Juice podcast, brought to you by IndiePRO.io.
What's up, Indies? Welcome back to the Creative Juice podcast. This is episode 251. I'm your host, Jack McCarthy. I'm flying solo on this episode as part 2 in this series of our predictions for 2023. As we kind of wind down 2022 here, Ed and I wanted to give you our top 3 predictions for the new year. What's going to be happening in music marketing, what's going to be happening in the music industry, or at least the things that we predict based on things that we're seeing, hearing, and experiencing day in, day out, working in a music marketing agency at IndieX, and share with you guys some of the hopes and the ideas that we think are going to be expanded upon in the new year. It's always an exciting time to reflect on what we've seen throughout this year and what we think is going to be happening next year. So I'm excited to dive into my big 3 predictions for 2023 with you here today. So I'm going to just dive right into them. There are 3 big ones, and the first one has to do with the music industry at large. The other has to do with artist and fan relationships, and the other has to do with tools and AI. So I'm going to dive right in first with my first prediction, which relates to artists and their connection with their fans. And what I think we're going to see a lot more of in 2023 is an increase in personalized, fan-driven experiences and offers being utilized and pushed out there by artists that are household names. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of the type of fan experiences, fan-driven offers, and engaging types of content, live experiences, online experiences, album launches, you name it, from artists that we know in our day-to-day life, people that are on TV, artists that are on the radio, people that are viral and famous. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. And this comes, my prediction for this kind of comes from 2 places, really. One is the conversations that we're having day to day here in IndieX at the music agency that we run with folks who are interested in working with us. A lot of artists who are kind of knocking on our door recently, especially within the last few months, are artists that a lot of people know about. They have large audiences. Sometimes they're legacy artists. Sometimes they're newer artists that have gone viral, that have big fan bases that have built up. And a lot of the questions that I'm getting when I talk with them about potentially working together are about trying to engage their fans in new and more connected ways. Questions like, how can I build up an email list ahead of my tour? How can I capture location data from my fans so that I can personalize my messaging? What can I do as far as giveaways go? How can I create cool and experiential album launches? What kind of cool merch launches can I do online? And how can I build out a sales calendar that feels really connected to my fans and feels like something that they would actually care to take part in, as opposed to boring and stale offers? And I think that this is really interesting and telling that these conversations are happening, because it coincides with the other reason that I hold this prediction, which is what I'm seeing in my email inbox. And we've talked about this a little bit on the show. We've even done live audits of email campaigns that we've kind of seen in the wild from artists. But I'm subscribed on my personal email to a number of artists that I like. Big artists, household names, think the Taylor Swifts, the Weeknds, a lot of types of artists like that. People with, massive global reach. Lord, people like that. And, I could go on and name all of the artists that I like that I'm subscribed to. But just to give you a few. And here's what's interesting. I'm subscribed to those lists for two reasons. One, sometimes I just really like the artist and I like to be in the loop with what they're doing. But two, I like to keep a swipe file of the stuff that I see, things that I think are interesting, or and oftentimes things that I think are not that interesting and kind of like a red flag that I put in my anti-swipe file, things not to do. Sometimes things that I would pick apart or bring to the podcast and kind of poke fun at and be like, here's what you could do differently. Now, the shift that I've been seeing over the last year is more and more I've been seeing artists and bands actually start to tailor their offers, especially their e-commerce offers, towards things that don't suck. And it's really great. I've been seeing a lot of collection drops, merch drops, kind of dedicated offers, limited time things, urgency, scarcity, kind of the elements that make up a great offer. I've been seeing those used a lot more, as opposed to just, here's a Black Friday sale for 10% off. A lot of what I'm used to seeing, kind of the stuff that is not particularly compelling and usually I'm blind to when it comes through my inbox. But I've been seeing more and more creative and compelling copywriting, creative and compelling offers come through my email inbox from artists that are, like I said, household names. So all of this to say, these things kind of come together to tell me that in the broader music industry, some of the things that we talk about on this show are being heard, or at least being adapted and brought into the mindset of label marketers, of artist managers, and utilized because, frankly, they're effective. If you can make offers that are really driven towards the types of fans that you have and really dialed into their interest and the reason that they love you as an artist and a creative, you can create, one, a great connection with them. You can create a number of revenue streams in your business depending on what you're tailoring these offers towards, whether it be your online store, whether it be to your touring, whether it be to growing your list and getting your music out there, whether it be launching your records. I'm kind of hopeful even that maybe gone are the days of the overnight album drop that every massive artist from time to time has done or probably thought about doing or has been advised to do. And we're really getting into a mode of trying to create experiences for fans. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. And what's cool about that is there's probably going to be some inspiration floating around there, maybe even from some of your favorite artists. I recommend wholeheartedly sign up for some of your favorite artist email lists. Maybe you already are, but sign up for some of your favorite artist or band's email list and keep track of what they're doing. Keep track of the things that you're sending. You never know what kind of inspiration you might find. Or, like I said, maybe you compile an anti-swipe file and it's like, you can itemize, here are the things that I might do differently. Here are the things that I can expand upon, because with this prediction that more of these fan-driven kind of experiential offers are going to be adapted more and more by the household name types of artists in this new year, I think it gives an opportunity for indies and artists that are growing and really just trying to get a grassroots foundation built for their business. There's going to be a lot of opportunity to grab cool ideas for a change, as opposed to trying to latch on to, some of the industry ideas that have been out there and used that really only apply to artists that have a massive fan base. So taking what you see from other artists and putting that through the filter of where you're at in your business might be a bit of a smaller gap than it previously has been, which is really, really exciting. So that's one prediction that I have related to artists and fan relationships. And I think that it's going to be something that we're going to see more of in 2023. So very excited about that. The second prediction that I have relates to the tools that we use. Now, we talk a lot on this show about different types of music marketing tools, of advertising platforms, of social media tools. We talk all about the social platforms, and we talk about email marketing and data and Zapier and all these different tech platforms. But what I'm going to talk about now is a little bit different, and that's going to be the growth and expansion of AI related tools and platforms and utilities that are out there. And I predict that over the next 12 months, there's going to be a lot more conversation about these sorts of tools for sure, because it's a new territory for us. There's a lot of ethical and potentially even legal implications to the use of AI tools. And I'm going to talk about a few of them, one of which is a tool like Jasper.ai. It's a copywriting tool. It's also recently expanded into an image creation tool, which is pretty amazing. But it uses AI to generate copy based on inputs that you give it, which is really neat. It's a tool that we've used at the agency. It's a tool that I've used in just my free time as a curious marketer that likes to try new things and test them out. And that's actually how I got into it. But it's a really, really powerful tool. I'll link to Jasper in the show notes so that you can check it out and play with it if you want to. But it's a pretty awesome software. And I think we're going to see more and more tools like Jasper come out into the marketplace. And even recently, within the last few weeks, for example, the OpenAI chat tool has come out. It's a platform that was released to beta, and it's currently in like a research phase where you can sign up for free to use it. And it's actually a chat-based AI where you can ask it questions. And it's mind-blowing how the inputs that you give it and the outputs that you get are formulated. That you can ask it questions that you would have to go to Google and search for, but you can ask it questions almost as if you're asking a support, like a support rep on a tech website. For example, I was recently messing around with it to figure out some coding issues that I was having with Asana, which is the project management tool that we use at IndieX. I was trying to do some coding work in Asana's API using Zapier and creating some custom requests. And I was asking the OpenAI chat tool, and I'll link to that in the show notes as well so that you can experiment with it if you want. I was asking it to help me figure out the coding problems that I was having, and it was working with me almost as if I was talking to a support agent related to Asana's development team or development help center. It's really interesting. And that's not all that the OpenAI chat tool can do. You can use it for all sorts of things. You can even use it for trying to generate lyrics, which is mind-blowing that there's something out there like that. And I think we're going to see the expansion of these kinds of tools. There's other ones, image creation tools like Midjourney. That's another AI image creation app. I'll link to that again in the show notes so that you can check it out. I'm not affiliated with any of these. IndiePRO is not affiliated with any of these. We're just curious and always keeping our eye to tools that are coming out there that work to make the job of creatives expanded, potentially easier, and more interesting, more creative. And I think that's what a lot of these tools will do. Now, there's a lot of concern. Like I said, I think there's a lot of ethical and legal implications that these AI platforms are going to have. And maybe we'll reserve some time on a future episode to kind of talk about that between Ed, and maybe we can even have some guests on who work with these platforms or work on developing these platforms. But I think there's going to be a lot more conversation about the use of these, what they mean to the future of work, and what they mean to us as creatives, as marketers. It's really, really fascinating. So I think we're going to see a lot more of those tools come out. Now, all I want to say about these right now, as someone who uses them, day to day, week to week in my work, as a marketer, as a musician, a lot of these things as they stand right now are tools in the hands of a professional. I can go to Jasper.ai, for example, and ask it to help me write some copy. But at the end of the day, I'm not usually taking copy that I'm working an AI tool to test out and putting it into an ad campaign with no revisions or corrections or combinations. In fact, a lot of times that I'm testing something like this out, I'm getting some initial ideas, and then I'm taking that copy and molding it. And this isn't something that's really worked into the processes at our agency at all. We don't have any SOPs on using it. It's not something that we actively are using with clients even. It's more so just something that we're testing and trialing and seeing how it could work within the workflow of a music marketing agency. Because that's what it's all about, is trying to figure out how these types of tools can help you do better work as a creative. So if you're curious about these kinds of things, I would say my recommendation would be to approach them with the curiosity of someone who would enter into them, try them out, and then take the outputs or the deliverables that come from these sorts of tools and manipulate them on your own based on your creativity, because that's really where the power is. It's like a tool in the hands of a professional, whatever your creative slant might be. Maybe you're using a copywriting tool to help you come up with video content ideas or outlines or copy for your next album launch. These are all sorts of things that you can sort of get your hands dirty with as these tools get more and more advanced as we go. So I think we're going to see a lot more of these come out in 2023. I think the conversation is going to expand about them, how they work, how they interface with us as creatives. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more, a number of different types that come out. We're probably going to start seeing AI tools. There's always whisperings of AI tools that create songs, and that sort of thing is out there and in, kind of development. So it's really, really curious. And I'm very interested in just seeing how they continue to develop. So definitely prediction number 2 of 3 for me. And finally, the third prediction that I have for 2023 is related to the music industry at large. And this is a really exciting, big one that I like to track kind of every year. And I think what we're going to see in 2023 is a continuation of the trend that we have increased indie market share in the music industry. And there will be more stats that will come out on this as revenue reports for 2022 come out. But just to give you some context, in 2021, the global recorded music revenue was $28.8 billion. Of that, the market share represented by independent labels and self-releasing artists was $10 billion. We've continued to see that sector, independent labels and artist direct, growing. The market share, their market share, that segment's market share of the music industry revenue growing year over year. And I think we're going to continue to see that. What's really interesting about that segment is that from artist direct, of that $10 billion in revenue, artists directly releasing was $1.5 billion, or 5.3% of the global market share, which was up from 5.1% the previous year. So I think we're going to continue to see that growth of market share for independents and artists. So I think we're going to continue to see that growth of the independents market share of the overall music business revenue into next year. And why I'm excited about this is it just means that there's never been a better time to be an independent, to be an artist that's carving your own path, to be a creative that's working to build a business on your terms and to create a sustainable career for yourself and to connect with your fans in a way that allows you to get your art out there into the world in a way that is sustainable. And so I wanted to save that prediction for last because it's a trend that's been occurring year over year. It's going to be continuing into next year, and I feel very confident about that, and it's very exciting. So if you're an independent artist, if you're an artist that's looking to blaze your own path, there's never been a better time than now to be doing so. And the data is the evidence for it, which is amazing. So as artists, as creatives, there's a lot to look forward to going into the new year. I'm very excited. Everybody here at IndiePRO, on behalf of our whole team, is super excited to see what all of you do, all of our listeners. We love hearing stories from out in the wild, just as much as we like sharing stories here on Creative Juice about the things that we're seeing and experiencing at IndieX, in the Indie Founder Program, in the IndiePRO community. They're just amazing stories to be shared, both stories that have passed and lessons that we've learned. There's certainly going to be a ton more going into 2023. So I'm so excited. I was so excited to share these predictions with you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed them, and I hope that we can touch back on these towards the end of next year and look back and, hopefully nod our heads and say that these came to fruition. As you're considering the implications of these predictions on you as a creative and you as someone who is taking the reins of their music business, if you haven't joined us inside of IndiePRO, I highly encourage you to do so. We're going to be sharing the stories, the wins, the successes, the campaigns and strategies that we are seeing work in the wild, both at the agency and in the community as a whole, with you guys, so that you can be learning and taking them and building them into your strategy stack, into the tactics that you use to grow your fan base and help you build a sustainable music career. So I'll make sure to leave a link to IndiePRO in the show notes today. But I hope you guys dug this episode. I want to wish you all happy holidays, a happy new year. Welcome to 2023 as we head into it. I hope you guys have a great closeout to 2022, and I'll see you in the new year. Peace out, Indies. Feel the East Coast, feel the West Coast.